Putting down your cape, the revolutionary act of choosing yourself. Have you ever noticed how we glorify exhaustion? How we wear our busyness like a badge of honor? I'm so tired has become our collective anthem, especially for those of us who've been conditioned to believe that our worth is measured by how much we can endure. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Lyrik Hunter, a visionary whose work has ignited a revolution of rest and self reclamation across communities where burnout has been normalized for generations. Her insights have transformed countless lives, particularly those of Black women, by helping them reclaim their right to rest, to boundaries, and to putting themselves first. Lyric isn't just a thought leader, she's a healer who has created sacred spaces where people can finally exhale and remember who they were before the world demanded everything from them. What struck me most about my conversation with Lyric wasn't just her wisdom, but how her message resonates like a tuning fork against something deep within us that's been waiting perhaps for decades to be acknowledged. Something that whispers, you don't have to carry it all. Think about it. When was the last time you said yes when every cell in your body was screaming no? When was the last time you stayed late at work even though your soul was begging for rest? When was the last time you poured from an empty cup because someone, anyone, needed something from you? We've normalized depletion. We've romanticized the grind, and it's killing us slowly, silently, one yes at a time. But what if I told you that prioritizing yourself isn't selfish? It's necessary. What if I told you that the most revolutionary act you could perform today isn't fighting harder, but finally allowing yourself to rest? This isn't just feel good rhetoric. The science is clear. The cost of chronic people pleasing goes far beyond just feeling tired. It manifests in our bodies, in our relationships, in the very fabric of our lives. Consider the story of a Black female executive at a Fortune 500 company who consistently took on extra projects and stayed late to support her team. Her workload grew increasingly unmanageable, but she struggled with saying no. Why? Because she feared being seen as difficult or not a team player, a pressure that women of color in leadership roles know all too intimately. After months of insomnia and debilitating migraines, her body was sending signals her mind refused to acknowledge. It wasn't until she began therapy focused on boundary setting and joined an affinity group for Black women leaders that things began to shift. She learned to delegate effectively and say no without the crushing weight of guilt. What's fascinating is the backstory. Raised in a home where conformity was rewarded and dissent discouraged, a dynamic often echoed in Black families navigating survival, people pleasing became second nature to her. It was a protective strategy that eventually became harmful. But here's the beautiful part. Not only did she preserve her well being, but she also inspired others at work by modeling healthy boundaries. Her transformation sparked workplace discussions about cultural expectations around labor for Black women and even led HR to implement new wellness initiatives. One person's courage to choose herself created ripples that changed an entire corporate culture. Or consider another story Lyric shared with me, a mid career entrepreneur running a wellness brand who found herself physically ill after years of saying yes to everyone but herself. Clients' last minute requests, family obligations, community events. She said yes to it all while neglecting her own care routines. The diagnosis? Chronic fatigue syndrome and brain fog. Doctor visits revealed stress induced immune suppression, a direct result of long term self neglect tied to people pleasing behaviors. Her solution wasn't just surface level self care. She implemented strict scheduling boundaries, no emails after hours, and prioritized daily rest practices like meditation. But most importantly, she sought coaching that addressed the root causes, her need for external validation stemming from childhood experiences where love felt conditional. Within 6 months, her energy levels rebounded. And here's what might surprise you: her business revenue actually increased as clients respected her clearer limits. She reported feeling restored both physically and emotionally. Growing up with parents who valued achievement over emotional needs meant learning early on that self sacrifice equaled worthiness, a belief system common among high achieving Black professionals seeking generational change. Her story was featured in industry publications about sustainable entrepreneurship practices among women of color, which helped shift broader conversations about self care beyond surface level advice. Other entrepreneurs adopted similar strategies after seeing tangible proof that honoring personal limits fuels, not hinders success. These aren't isolated incidents. They represent a pattern, a collective awakening to the truth that Lyric Hunter has been championing. We cannot continue to operate from depletion and expect to thrive. But perhaps the most powerful example comes from a collective formed by Black creatives, including poets and songwriters like Lyric herself, who host storytelling circles focused on honest dialogue around pain points such as divorce or single parenting while pursuing creative careers. Initially, members hid their struggles behind polished public personas due to fear they'd be seen as weak if they admitted needing help or showed any cracks beneath their capes. But through art therapy sessions where they wrote poems and songs expressing buried emotions, they created a mutual support system that allowed them space to put their capes down. Participants described breakthroughs, including reduced depressive symptoms and renewed creative output. They felt less alone knowing others shared their burdens too. For generations, many were taught silence equals strength, but this only perpetuated cycles of isolation and martyrdom prevalent within communities striving against systemic adversity. Several members published anthologies or performed pieces nationally about releasing trauma and embracing wholeness, which resonated widely across social media platforms advocating mental health awareness among Black creatives. This model inspired similar healing collectives nationwide, emphasizing vulnerability and collective restoration over individual struggle. What these stories teach us, what Lyric Hunter's work illuminates, is that healing begins when we release the burden. We don't have to carry it all. True restoration starts when we lay down what's weighing on our hearts, whether that's trauma from divorce, betrayal, or just the relentless demands of life. As Lyric often says, give yourself permission to heal so you can reclaim your light and move forward whole again. The truth is, many of us, especially Black professionals and entrepreneurs, are conditioned to put everyone else before ourselves. But pouring into others without refilling your own cup leads to exhaustion and emotional depletion. You have permission to rest, set boundaries, and choose yourself first. Chronic people pleasing is more than just being nice. It can lead to anxiety, burnout, low self worth, unhealthy relationships, and even physical health issues like fatigue and weakened immunity. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward healing. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. This message, this invitation to put down your cape, might feel threatening to some part of you. The part that's built an identity around being needed, being strong, being the one who never breaks. I understand. When your worth has been tied to what you can do for others, the idea of prioritizing yourself can feel like free falling without a parachute. But I promise you, there is solid ground beneath you. You are worthy of rest simply because you exist, not because of what you produce, provide, or perform. As the great Audre Lorde reminded us, caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. In a world that expects Black women to be endlessly strong, choosing softness is revolutionary. So here's my challenge to you today. What would happen if you put down your cape? Not forever, just long enough to remember the person beneath it. What would happen if you allowed yourself to be human in a world that has demanded you be superhuman? This isn't just about taking a bubble bath or scheduling a massage. This is about dismantling generations of conditioning that have taught us that our value lies in our utility to others. This is about reclaiming our humanity in systems designed to extract everything and give nothing back. I want you to leave here today with one radical commitment to yourself, one boundary you will honor, one no you will say so that you can say yes to your well being. Write it down, speak it aloud, share it with someone who will hold you accountable to this promise to yourself. Because here's the truth that Lyrik Hunter's work has revealed: the revolution we've been waiting for isn't out there, it's within us. It begins the moment we decide that we are worthy of the same care, compassion, and consideration that we so freely give to others. Imagine a world where we all had permission to put down our capes, where exhaustion wasn't a status symbol, where rest wasn't a luxury but a birthright, where vulnerability wasn't seen as weakness but as courage. That world is possible, but it begins with you, with one boundary, one moment of rest, one act of choosing yourself. You don't have to carry it all. You never did. And if no one has told you lately, you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. In the words that echo through Lyrik Hunter's transformative work, your softness is your superpower. Your boundaries are your birthright. Your healing is your highest calling. The world will still turn if you rest. The people who truly love you will still love you if you say no. And your worth has never, ever been tied to your productivity. You have permission to be soft now. You always did. And in that softness lies a strength more powerful than any cape could ever provide: the strength to be fully, unapologetically human in a world that has forgotten what that means. So today, right now, I invite you to take the first step. Put down your cape, take a deep breath, and remember who you were before the world told you that you had to be everything to everyone. That person is still there, waiting, and they deserve to be known, to be loved, to be prioritized by you first and foremost. The revolution of self love begins not with grand gestures, but with small permissions: permission to rest, permission to feel, permission to be human. This is your moment. This is your permission. This is your revolution.